This guy is a bon vivant. He's a raconteur of Philadelphia and the surrounding area. I mean, this guy is where everything's going on, he's there.
Yes.
You know what I mean? So that's the kind of guy we need on this show.
Absolutely.
John Clark, NBC Sports.
I was going to say, do you want to give the Twitter handle out? You have it right
there.
I
just pulled it up. At JClarkNBCS on Twitter.
See, John, normally we would play some music for you. We'd have this grand introduction, but
like Springsteen, we'd play for this guy,
yeah,
right?
But we don't want to bite on what another radio station may do. So we would create our own theme music for the great John Clark. It's Harry Mayes, Eytan Shander. How are you, sir?
I'm good. Can you play a little Ric Flair entrance music or something?
Oh, nice.
We can definitely do that. The problem is our system is down today. So if you give us something that like Harry can a cappella or maybe hum.
I'm not a cappella, nothing.
I think Harry can hum the John Cena intro.
Next time we'll have some Ric Flair music.
Yes.
Okay.
Yes, we promise you that, John.
Yeah.
So how good talking to you guys.
Likewise. It really is a pleasure, man. How concerned are you personally about Joel Embiid's knee? Not for Saturday specifically, but just for the playoffs.
Yeah, it's kind of a weird deal because, they could have just listed him the last couple games as being out because of that term load management, but they didn't. They said load management and left knee soreness, and that's from, the tendonitis. So there is concern there, especially the way Elton Brand answered the question, where he said, I'm optimistic that he is getting himself ready to play and that he will be able to play. That was kind of weird to me because we had all assumed that Joel would be ready, and he kind of was like, well, he's getting himself ready. He's doing everything he can to get himself ready. So obviously it's a concern, and when you miss 14 of the last 24 games with knee tendonitis and then wanting to rest him, and obviously it's been an issue since the All-Star break, but when that happens, you really got to wonder how long it's going to take him to get into basketball shape, to go up and down the floor, because, when these Sixers go into these playoffs with the starting five they had, you got to figure it's going to be, an 8 or 9-man rotation. He's going to need to play big minutes. And obviously I don't think he's going to be quite at the conditioning level in the first game, like when he came back in the Celtics game after being off for 8 days. So, there is concern, but I got to tell you, I think he's playing. I haven't seen the medical report yet today from practice, but I think he's playing. I don't think there's any way he's going to miss it.
Yeah, I think he's playing too. We're looking at the line here at Parks Casino. It says 8. So that tells me that that's a, Embiid's in the lineup kind of line. But that being said, let's go back to Saturday against the Bulls. He played in that game. Did something happen in addition to what he had been dealing with, John, in that game that has led us to this mystery as we approach the playoffs?
I don't know. And there's something interesting because I don't think Brett Brown, not that he's out of the mix, I'm not saying that, but it is a decision with the medical people with the Sixers management, and Joel. And, that's why Brett got frustrated at the last press conference Wednesday night when he said, look, I'm not answering any more Joel Embiid questions. And he kind of basically said it's out of my control. And that is something that the team has to issue on their injury report. So I don't know if something happened in Chicago, because after Chicago, Brett Brown said he thought it would be best for Joel to get some minutes in the final games to get his conditioning level up, and then that changed once they clinched the 3 seed. Don't know if it was because they clinched the 3 seed or if the medical people said, no, we need to rest him. He needs to rest his knee and get it ready for the playoffs. So I can't answer that question. That's why there's always mystery around this.
It seems like, and you say always mystery around us. I'm going back to when Robert Covington broke or banged up his wrist or finger, right, and was shut down, and there was confusion about that, and we were all going back and forth if they can't get it right with Robert Covington, then what shot do they have at getting it right with Joel Embiid or Ben Simmons? Why haven't they learned from their mistakes in either dealing with the media or just communicating with fans about injury, John?
Yeah, some of it was unfortunate, Ben Simmons breaking his foot, Joel, the broken foot again. And, things could have been handled better. I do think they're being handled better now than they were under Hinkie and Colangelo. And I think
God, I hope everything's being handled better now than under Colangelo, right?
Yeah, and especially staying off social media. But Joel Embiid, I hate to say it, but I mean, you kind of think in the back of your mind that this might be what they have to deal with for the rest of his time because, he came in with some injuries as a big man, and you see when he misses some time, he gains a little weight, and there's more pressure on the knee and the foot. And this is what happens with a big man like that who's already had the foot back. So I think we're going to have to deal with this, and I think the term load management is going to be here for a while because, maybe they now think back, well, maybe we should have given him some days here and there in the first half of the season because then the whole thing is to try to get one of the top 4 seeds and get to the playoffs and have a healthy Joel. Right. So maybe next year they might have a couple days here and there of load management in the first half of the season. But, there could be a little of Elton Brand just kind of like trying to put it out there. Like there's a question about whether Joel's going to play or not. You never know. Maybe it's a little gamesmanship because Brett Brown said, he thinks his entire starting 5 will be healthy. But I think we'll know more today after practice, and then he'll officially be on the injury report, and it'll say whether he's, day-to-day, and should be able to play. But, I think there's always going to be a little bit of a mystery behind this because Joel, in some instances, I don't think wants to sit, and especially for primetime games, national games, all-star games, you have to wonder if he should have played in the all-star game. But,
right.
in the end, if he tells you I am good to go and I can go out there and then he throws up 30 and 20,
yep,
it's hard to argue with him, but I guess you have to have a little restraint.
Yeah, right. John Clark joining us here from NBC Sports Philadelphia. J. Clark NBCS on Twitter. You got to follow him. Now, with this cloud of mystery over Embiid, and maybe he's not, near 100%, do you think they have any kind of trouble with the Brooklyn Nets in this series?
I don't because, number one, the 2 losses that they had to the Nets this year were earlier on where they didn't have these starting 5. I mean, I went back and looked. The first loss to the Nets, you had Rocco, you had Dario, but you had Markelle Fultz starting.
Right, that was pre-Butler, yeah.
Yeah, so then you go to the second game that they lost, and you had Wilson Chandler and Furkan Korkmaz in the starting lineup. So if you look back 2 weeks ago, the only game where they had this starting 5, they were up by 20 on the Nets, early second quarter. Joel, 39 points. And
13 rebounds and 6 assists.
13 rebounds.
Yeah.
So and you look at Joel during the season. They don't have anybody on their team that can match up with Joel, and he's got 60% shooting percentage against the Nets this year. He's averaging 30 points a game. He went for 39 the last game. So I think this is perfect for the Sixers. I do think the guards will give you trouble. I mean, they're tough to guard. The Sixers have that problem, but in the end, there is no one. It's not like the Celtics. It's not like some other teams that can have somebody that matches up with Joel. So that's where I think it'll be one. Joel in the post and just dominating the Nets. So, and look, by the way, I mean, the Nets kind of limped into the playoffs. They're 6-7 in their last 13 games.
Yeah. They
did have an impressive win over the Bucks, but they sat Giannis in that game. It was a shorthanded Bucks team. So, they're a 500 team that really has no playoff experience. So, yeah, I think they win in 5.
I think the biggest concern that I have, John, is not in the first round. It's how much wear and tear, like we saw last year. That Miami series was physical, and they did that on purpose to try to put themselves in any contention in winning that series.
Yeah, they had to muck that up.
Exactly. But that's a strategy that you can still apply to this team. And I wonder, Brooklyn not as physical as Miami last year, but I wonder if this thing does take 6, dare I even say 7 games to close out Brooklyn, or if we're talking about Embiid and conditioning being a factor in why it took 6 games to close out. It's the ramifications of the next round, because I know I want to cheat and have my cake and eat it too, but they're not going to be a cohesive unit by then, and I need Embiid as healthy as possible against the Raptors because they're just not as good as Toronto.
Yeah, and look, I think your point was good, though. I don't think Brooklyn can play that rough, tough style that Miami did. I mean, honestly, it is such a mismatch at the center position with Joel. I mean, Brooklyn is a team of guards, and that is their biggest strength against the Sixers. So I don't think I think it'll be a little bit of a challenge, but I don't think it'll be like the Heat series last year. And I also think, you know, you look at this new team that they have, I think Jimmy Butler, and Elton Brand said it the other night, we got Jimmy Butler for the playoffs. Right. And I think you're going to get all of Jimmy Butler in the playoffs. He's a guy who knows he doesn't have to expend all of his energy every night. Remember the game where he told Joel, like, hey, I just don't have my legs tonight. I'm going to coast for 3 quarters, and then when it's closing time,
I'll turn it on. Yep. Yeah.
And I think you're going to see the best of Jimmy. There's been times where you're like, okay, he's supposed to be really good defensively. We don't see it sometimes, but this is where you're going to see it because, look, he's going for that contract, and he is made for the playoffs. So I think you have a different team here and a different mindset. And this last stretch, talking to some of the players, they said like when they were 47-25 against the Celtics, it felt like a breeze. The season went by so fast, and then the last, 20 games, whatever. They said it's felt like 9 months. Like it's been a slow drag, and it kind of reminds me of that Phillies team in 2011, was it, or 2010, where they clinched so early, and then they lost like 10 straight games because they were just like, we got it wrapped up. Let's just kind of coast. So this has been a weird feeling, but I think when you get that starting 5 back out there, I think you'll feel confident again because I think you're going to get their best as long as Joel is able to go.
Yeah, and it really is amazing, though, that they've only played 10 games as a unit. That's starting 5, and they're 8-2, 6-4 against the number. Now, before we let John go, on yesterday or 2 days ago, I saw him putting a brand-new bicycle on a nice car rack on his car. He's going out for a ride. I think he might be on a bike ride right now. The wind is whipping by his cell phone.
Are you on the trail Brown right now doing an interview in mid-workout?
Kind of like that. You guys looking for a weather report now? I mean,
no. We're just trying to figure out how in shape you are that you can handle.
Great shape.
You look it, but my goodness, I mean, listen, there are a lot of people
play tennis.
Harry, there are a lot of people that look in good shape, and the cardio is where it gets you.
Right.
But clearly, John, his cardio
he's a cardio man.
Is up to par because you can do this interview, not even sound like you're winded, and the only wind we hear is blowing on your
Mother
face.
Nature.
Yeah.
Well, I might need a day for load management, though, after today, so.
Hey, can I ask you?
If that's the case, come by my house on that day.
Harry's a key on load management. He's an expert.
I'll bring the Tito's.
There you go. There you go.
Real quick, if I could sneak this in, all right?
Yeah.
We saw that video of Tobias and Boban serving up cheesesteaks. So I'll put it to you. Forget cheesesteaks because that's as overplayed of a cuisine as we have here in Philadelphia. If we were to ask John Clark to pick the destination where Toby and Bobby would be dishing out the best sushi in Philadelphia, where would you suggest that they do that?
I got to tell you something, you guys. I don't eat any sushi.
Nice job, Eytan. You set him up for a food that he doesn't even like.
Yes.
My bad, but...
No. This show is all about awkward moments, John. You fit right in. It's great. And usually I'm the one either supplying or at the end recipient of the awkward moments.
Yes.
So thank you, sir.
Thank you.
Well, I could have just lied and made up something like double knot or something.
Yes. No, but you don't do that.
No, you don't do that.
No, he doesn't do that.
He's a respected member of the news.
He's a reporter.
Yes, exactly right. Thank you, sir.
Thanks, John.
Thanks, guys. Good talking to you.